This time our adventure starts with a quiet town in which, naturally, with the arrival of Jotaro, it becomes not so quiet. Not that Jotaro is the same dude who stands in the doorway and says,
I am not in danger. I am the danger.
but the fact that the appearance of a real boss of the gym in the city greatly changes the level of tranquility, and the town of Dream cannot be denied. Actually, Jotaro arrives in this town to tell his relative that his grandfather, who lives in a happy marriage, lives in a not very happy marriage, and our new protagonist Josuke with a sausage hairstyle turns out to be Jonathan's illegitimate son.
Dude, holy fucking smokes, dude. My cut is insane.
Josuke, like any other Joestar, has an ardent temper and therefore has no desire to sort things out somehow in addition to Oriora. But Jotaro quickly tells him his entire biography, proving that he not only works as boss of the gym, but also works at Google, actively eavesdropping on all information about the offspring grandfathers, to offer him an inheritance advertisement now. In general, it's a strange situation. A strange guy comes up to you on the street and starts showing his stand and telling you that he was following you. As for me, pulls on a criminal case. But this is JoJo, so let's take it calmly. Actually, here we see the stand of the main character, incredibly similar to Star Platinum, but at first sucking him with a swallow. But the essence is not important. We find out that Star Platinum has become like Jesus in general and now knows how to resurrect people, but not everyone. How the choice of people who can be resurrected works, I never understood, and in principle I don't give a fuck. Josuke is also trying to turn his stand into Jesus, but after the death of a strange uncle, Whipping Booze, he finds out that so far only Star Platinum can do this, so no one cares about the death of his grandfather. It turned out that the owner of the Angelo stand is walking around in the city who can control the water. As for me, the ability is shit, but surprisingly dangerous shit, like when a strange dark guy is trying to slip you in the alley. But not the point. Josuke does not sit still, so he manages to get in and get problems from this Angelo because of a remark about his hairstyle. Moreover, when Josuke and Jotaro stumble upon an enemy in the apartment, Josuke replays the Orochimaru cosplay replay and doing various nasty things with his mouth.
Tell us something your mum doesn't know. Yeah.
After catching this water prankster, they find out that he got his stand from Dio. Did you think that Dio would just disappear like that? No, for all the time that you spend watching JoJo, Muta will already flow through your veins and you, like your alcoholic father, will endlessly search for the Joestar family. But this time some strange schoolboy gave this prankster the ability, which now our brave squad of 2 people will be looking for. Along the way, they notice how your childhood friend, who turned the wrong way somewhere, mocks the shorty, a fun enough activity for which you can pay money. But the noble blood Joestar plays in Josuke, and so he stands up for the dwarf and beats the shit out of the thug. But surprisingly, then they become a single squad, and now our squad consists of 4 people. Shorty is killed by an arrow and dragged into his dark room for fun by the animated version of Billy Harrington, apparently in order to show him his deep dark fantasies in the deep dark room. But our squad stands up for the dwarf who grabbed a stray arrow. The dwarf suddenly comes to life and Billy shows Josuke his stand, persuading him to show his own and explain to the little boy how to show his stand.
I need an egg.
However, the boy never showed his stand and Josuke solved this problem on his own. At the end of the duel, they try to stuff us with the snot of this sucker, but fortunately an interesting opponent appears and easily demolishes the whiner's fucker, because even Van did not cry, even though he saw a lot that he had to do for only $300. After that, we find out that an interesting villain is called Red Hot Chili Pepper, and so, after the fight, you are waiting to finally hear something that came out after Dark Necessities. But no, you will continue to rake shit with Josuke and his team and you will like it. The dwarf bought himself a new bike and only after getting behind the wheel has already got problems, knocking down a kitten and getting an offender into the bargain. During the altercation with him, the dwarf awakens his stand. The same offender merges information that there are quite a lot of stand users at the Josuke school, and the squad cheerfully moves forward to solve this problem, but stumbles upon a villain with a rather interesting stand that takes control of the characters, and we even see a sweet picture of Josuke slapping the dwarf in the face. Then Josuke, along with the Gopnik, stumbles upon a Shota moment where a sexy enough girl offers to meet a dwarf, but he clings and safely refuses, because he does not need milk from a woman's breast. He needs the semen of a combat comrade. This pervert also turns out to be the owner of the stand and uses it exclusively for her feminine purposes. For example, to pull out the hair of another bitch.
Women.
Moreover, it turns out that this hot bitch turns out to be a hot, sick, obsessed bitch, and now the squad needs to save the dwarf from her perverted paws. Koichi, like a real man, awakens a new form of the stand and beats up a woman who accosts him, arranging spanking. fisting for her without even taking a payment of $300. Josuk, like other respectable statuesque men, gets a spanking from his mother, and after she leaves, he stumbles upon Red Hot Chili Peppers again. Duel takes place between them, but Oriora never gets bored, so we catch pleasure from this moment. Then Jotaro reports that he decided to involve Jonathan in the case because they can't find the owner of Red Hot Chili Pepper on their own, and in the heat of discussions, they don't even notice how Red Hot Chili Pepper fucks a motorcycle out from under their noses, which incredibly angers the Gappar, and he decides to behave like a Negro in a slasher and disappears safely. For this reason, the team decides to speed up the involvement of the grandfather in the case in order to save the wayward Gopnik and look for him in all possible ways. They stumble upon the owner of the Red Hot Chili Pepper by the river, where even the most interesting villain, according to the laws of the genre, becomes a fucking slave. After that, Jonathan arrives and, as usual, we are interrupted by the series at the announcement of a new villain. Grandfather is already making major progress in Alzheimer's, so instead of an assistant, they got another old fart. The dwarf meets with the former villain, and together they came across a house with the next owner of Stand, actively breaking the fourth wall. It turns out that his stand has the ability to turn people into manga, read future manga, and the like funny shit. However, even taking into account these predictions of Oriora, he could not predict and safely joins the squad. At times it seems to me that the method of making a friend in JoJo is similar to the method of raising my drunk father. After some time, Jotaro drags Josuk with him on the hunt, feeling that the next owner of the stand will be a strong opponent and therefore trains him as hard as possible. At the training site, they are immediately on the hunt and immediately stumble upon the owner of the stand, a rat, whose ability is to put creatures in a kind of pudding. At this time, a crazy mangaka and a dwarf stumble upon Sakura, who came straight from Naruto and gives information to our heroes that there is a killer in the city who does not even know that he is a murderer and disappears. The small one quickly leaks all the information to all the team members and, without knowing it, stumble upon the same killer. Then follows a couple of not interesting fillers that don't even make sense to describe. After some time, we begin to get more and more acquainted with an interesting villain who unknowingly carries with him body parts of people he killed and realizes this when he does not expect it.
私の名はキラヨシカゲ、年齢33歳。
We get to know his stand in a duel with a pickpocket character who looks like a huge white bat. Moreover, the villain himself believes that his stand is his cat.
3, 2, 1, go! 普通にダメセクシーにダメ
ダメ。君は死ななくてはならないんだ。
Actually, using the stand, he tears the pickpocket apart, while absolutely not understanding anything. From the clues about the villain, the squad has only a button and Jotaro is actively searching for the killer, which does not lead to anything, like your attempts to socialize. You fucking loser. They stumble upon a villain in a jacket shop, and while waiting, they beat up one of the villain's stand attacks, thinking that this is the stand. The killer even manages to get to the dwarf and try to explain to him what is happening, but the dwarf does not want to listen to anything and chooses the path of battles, for which he safely gets in the face from the villain's stand. Jotaro tries to listen to the killer, simultaneously beating his stand, but even Star Platinum loses to him in the fight. While trying to explain what happens after the fight, King Crimson simply cuts off the killer's hand and hides. It turns out that Stan has control over the owner, and not vice versa. Naturally, Stan finds a new owner, although it turns out that he simply transfers the consciousness of this owner to another body. After our gang had safely missed the killer, there was no choice but to look for clues in his old house. But to their surprise, waiting for them was Kira's father, not quite alive, who lost the battle of strength with Jotaro, but won the battle of wits with Okayasu, and escaped with an arrow into the sunset. In a house in the town of Morio, a resident named Shinobu Kawajiri captures the following picture. Her husband, being a quiet and mediocre man, suddenly starts cooking on his own and steals money from the owner of the house to make his rent count. But it turns her on too much and makes horny. This one can't guess that it's not her husband, but the very same Kira Yoshikage. Then a strange filler happens with an alien man, in which the alien turns into a dice and Josuk puts his mother in a poker game. Wait, wrong season. The family the killer infiltrates as a child. He doesn't really care about the parents' business, but he put a hidden camera in the parents' room for some reason, spying on his mom, who's been getting naked in front of his dad a lot lately. Incest is a family affair. I get it. While the gang is gathering information about Kira, Shinobu discovers the cat in his basement and decides to keep it, but the cat had other plans and dies. Kira buries the cat's corpse, but the cat spells Plants vs. Zombies and nearly kicks Kira. The latter decides to keep it. In vain, because little Sherlock Holmes doesn't doze off. He finds the plant in the attic. Skipping the episode with the weirdo with the stand tower, we learn that Rohan and Koichi are already being hunted by the new stand owners. In Josuk's case, he asked for help, a former enemy, Yuefungami with his Highway Star stand, with an excellent silent sniffer like a bloodhound, playing sneaky like all small cock stand owners. Terunosuke Miyamoto with his Enigma stand captured Koichi and Josuke's mother as hostages, sealing them in a piece of paper.
What's this? What's this? Huh?
Even Josuke couldn't help but be frightened by the bastard's threats. Yuya didn't leave it like that. He helps and then overplays Miyamoto. Yuya is not handsome, but Gigachad because there are 3 sexy girls waiting for him at home. In the case of Rohan, he is visited by a fire damage estimator, a strange type who does not show his back under any circumstances. Why? So Rohan wanted to know, and that one immediately saddled Cheap Trick, just like your mother, another Dota player. Koichi, who came to help, thought Rohan was playing a prank, but when he followed him, he realized, why the fuck is he crawling and hiding with his back to the walls and people? Tricking Cheap Trick into turning around in a place where souls are taken, Rohan and Koichi once again defeat the grandfather's henchmen. So much time has passed and Kira still hasn't killed anyone, just as he finds another victim. But the big brother is watching everything. But as we all know, whoever sticks his nose in his own business ends up at the bottom of the ocean. Kira's father, who comes to the rescue, tells him that the gang almost got on his trail, but the arrow he was carrying decided to give him a little shot and sucked into Kira. Not worrying about anything, Kira has an educational chat with the kid and declares that he's friendly now. The kid is guessing what powers his father was talking about and stumbles upon Rohan, who, with the help of Heaven's Door, reads the manga about the kid, but something doesn't add up. Why is he reading about something that's going to happen literally in a minute? And this is all the shenanigans of the new power Killer Queen, with which Kira sends Rohan to listen to the 1980 hit, Queen, Another One Bites the Dust. Or does she? Turns out that the Killer Queen Bites the Dust works automatically and protects Kira from anyone who tries to find out about him through Hayato, making a bomb out of him, taking back time, telling Hayato how fucking awesome Killer Queen is, skipping Hayato's moments where he gives the whole gang a listen to an 80 seconds hit. Young One tries to beat Kira by going back in time, and he succeeds. Okayasu and Josuke are the first to get into a fight, trying to get the killer as hard as they can. At one point, Kira combines Stray Cat and Killer Queen to use the Hadouken, even cornered our protagonist, who manages to find the rat who was setting off the explosive bubbles, and sets the biggest one right on him, finally sending him to the afterlife. The gang, who have come up, make it to the Feast of Life, and while Kira talks about his boner, Jotaro is already running to break his face, when suddenly the maniac uses his trademark trick, blows up time, and manages to get out of the situation. He manages to get out of it, doesn't he? All he manages to do is get an ore from Jotaro. The ambulance also helps finish the job, and it was season 4 of JoJo, which is largely related to the next season, in which we will get a complete picture of what is happening.